Hello and welcome to TV on TV. I'm State Representative Tommy Vitolo. You're watching Brookline Interactive Group. Today is Thursday, May 26th, and we have a great show for you today. We have County Commissioner Richard Staiti in an interview conducted just a few days ago. First, the news, and it's a tough week in many ways for news. An 18-year-old gunman, Salvador Rolando Ramos, opened fire in a fourth grade classroom at a Texas elementary school on Tuesday, killing 19 children and 2 teachers. Prior to the shooting, authorities say he shot his grandmother at her home, who they brought to the hospital in critical condition. Mr. Ramos, the shooter, was shot and killed as well. In response to the deadly massacre, President Biden gave a speech on Tuesday night, voicing his grief and his frustration. In his address, he demanded Congress tighten gun control, saying, "It's time to turn this pain into action." In the Georgia Senate primaries on Tuesday, former Senator David Perdue suffered a landslide defeat against Governor Brian Kemp. Governor Kemp is noteworthy for eschewing Donald Trump and his style of politics. Of George Floyd's murder, President Biden signed an executive order which will enforce police accountability. This is a step as part of federal reform efforts on national policing standards. On Monday, Moderna announced its plan to develop a vaccine to combat the monkeypox virus, just 5 days after the virus was first detected in Massachusetts. Later today, the Massachusetts House of Representatives is scheduled to vote on a conference version of the Work and Family Mobility Act, which allows residents to receive a state license or ID, regardless of citizenship status. The legislature, that is the House, is also expected to vote on a bill updating the law regarding sexting and revenge porn. Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey announced a lawsuit against 13 manufacturers of toxic PFAS compounds, which include chemical giants 3M and DuPont. This past Tuesday at the Coolidge Corner Theater, the 12th annual Brookline Youth Awards were in fact awarded. There were several folks highlighted, including both Youth Award recipients, Team Award recipients, and Recognition Award recipients. Congratulations to all the Brookline's youth celebrated at the event. Brookline's annual Memorial Day event will occur on Monday, May 30th. The full schedule of events includes an 8:30 a.m. departure from the Veterans Post at 386 Washington Street for the cemetery tour, and then the final ceremony returning to town at 11 a.m. Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey is hosting a free document shredding event on June 1st from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Brookline Senior Center. So lots of news, some of it tragic and really horrifying, others a little bit more exciting. In any case, that's the news for the week. And now we're going to kick over to an interview earlier this week with Richard Staiti. Stay tuned here on Brookline Interactive Group for more TV on TV with me, State Rep Tommy Vitolo.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome. As we said earlier today on Brookline Interactive Group, we've got County Commissioner Richard Staiti. Commissioner, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Contrary to popular belief, folks in the Norfolk County government do remember that Brookline is part of the county, even if people in Brookline don't remember. And I'm just delighted that you're looking out for the entire county. Richard, let's start by giving people a chance to know more about you. What have you been doing your whole life?
I feel very blessed, Tom. I've had a very active life, and I know we have a short time to speak, so I'll work through some of this bio quickly. I'm a graduate of Canton High School and a native son in Canton, growing up here all my life. I went on to attend Stonehill College, followed that up with attending Bridgewater State University for my master's in education. And then along the way, I went and got my degree in law at Suffolk Law. I now practice as a zoning attorney, along with being a very active, as you know, county commissioner. Prior to that, though, I spent many years in the classroom. I was an educator. I served in the Canton school system as a classroom teacher, and then segued into being a director of science and technology. And that background has actually helped me quite well, I would say, with all modesty, as serving as a county commissioner, because one of our jobs is that we serve as trustees of the Norfolk County Aggie School. And so the educational background has given me great insight into a lot of the problems that teachers face and administrators face as well. As I said, I serve now as a lawyer. That helped me a little bit in my job as town moderator, which I still hold in Canton. We have an open town meeting system. I did serve also on the select board in Canton when I was a little bit younger, served 9 years, 3 terms before going to law school at night. Raising 5 children was kind of a difficult thing to do, as you can imagine. So I took my break in serving the public, but did continue on as the delegate to Norfolk County Advisory Board. Each town has a delegate that represents their town at the advisory level. And that gave me the interest, I would say, and the knowledge to serve as county commissioner. So that's kind of a quick overview of where I am and where I'm at. And like I said, I'm delighted to be here, very humbled. Had some fine candidates in the pandemic year that I was able to win and defeat. They were all good people, and I'm enjoying this challenge quite a bit.
So I think folks in Brookline, and I'm sure this is true in other communities as well, don't necessarily have a good understanding of the role of county government. Of course, in Massachusetts, some counties don't really even have county government. Middlesex, for example, and other counties still do. And so maybe you could give us, 4 or 5 minutes to really help folks understand what the role is for Norfolk County government and where its actions help support the people within the county.
We'll start by saying that I'm very proud to belong to Norfolk County, and we're very lucky to have representatives like you and others who serve our county so well. Norfolk County is a well-run county. There are other counties you mentioned that perhaps were not run as well, and therefore the state took over their operations. There are actually only about 5 or 6 counties, if you will, that are actually in existence now. Plymouth County, Norfolk County, Barnstable County, Bristol County, and I think it's Dukes, and there might be one other. Forgive me if I'm missing one. But each of them have a little different flavor, and yet we're all working together now. We're doing more collaboration in terms of what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong, and how can we get better. In terms of Norfolk County, we offer several things. Primarily, our responsibility is the court. And I think back now when I was thinking about this interview, how you reached out to us when there was an issue with the Brookline court. And we got right on that. And of course, you spearheaded that. But the county commissioners were right there with you in making sure that nothing changed in terms of the juvenile system at that court. So it's very important to us that we maintain our courts, that we repair them, and we safeguard them. That's our primary responsibility. But we do other things. As I mentioned, when you're a commissioner, you're also a trustee, like a school committee person, if you will, of the Aggie School, which is in Walpole. And although Brookline doesn't have an awful lot of students that go there, maybe that's a tribute again to their outstanding school system, we occasionally get students from Brookline who do attend our school, and that's a vocational school. We also have a small engineering department that is in charge of county layouts. So we'll get called upon from time to time from different towns to help out when there's a street that needs to be corrected or closed. We've got one project working in Stoughton at the moment, actually one in my own town in Canton. And from time to time, they even help out towns that are a little bit smaller that don't have full-time engineering services, such as Avon or Holbrook. We have a veterans service that does help out. And that's very important that our veterans get the need and help that they deserve. For a time being, there was Avon and even other towns like that either didn't have an agent or needed some assistance. And so our agent is able to step in and help out to make sure the benefits are continued for our worthy veterans. Another thing we do is the RSVP program, helping out our senior citizens. And then, last but certainly not least, as I said, it's the overall attitude of working with local officials and state officials and even federal officials on certain projects such as the APA program. This has really put us in the forefront, I would say. The APA program has got the county government, I would say, revitalized, and we're working very hard on that. And I'd be very happy to speak about that.
Now, I attended a land grant university, North Carolina State University, which is an engineering and agricultural university. And so I have, there's a place in my heart for agricultural education. I think us city folk don't give credit for the amount of real training and knowledge it takes to successfully run a farm or any agricultural business in the 21st century. The technology, the finance, the business, all of it, takes real study, and doing it. The difference between doing it well and doing it poorly is the difference between staying open and providing those agricultural services, whether it's food or what have you, and not. So I pull for the Aggie School. I love the Aggie School, but many folks in Brookline don't know much about it. So maybe you could tell folks what the Aggie School is, how big it is, give people a feel for what we're talking about when we talk about the Aggie School.
Yeah, so when I was running for election in 2020, Joe Shea, who also was elected as our chairperson, does a great job, kept calling it the jewel of the county, the jewel of the county. And it truly is. Now that they've gotten to know it firsthand, being a trustee and a commissioner, it's an outstanding school. Let me tell you, we have over 600 students there, and they're fighting to get in. The applications this year are almost double the amount that we can take. So it's a very selective process. We split it between about 300 are in county and 300 are out of county. And the in county pay more, and the towns pay for their students to be there. And the in county, they pay about $2,500 a student for the right for their students to attend. So it's a small amount of money. Obviously, your taxes offset that and other revenue we get from the state, as you are well aware of. We did review the tuition rate a little bit, and that was because the county Aggie School was running at a structural deficit. And what happened was we were bailing it out as commissioners over the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, let's face it, teachers and cafeteria workers and maintenance staff deserve raises. And there were other things that needed to go in that facility and improvements. And we just weren't keeping up with the current tuition, which hadn't been looked at in 15 years. So one of the things I had suggested was we need to look at that and not be afraid to make a change. So we conducted a study, and the study came back that, yes, we do need to raise the tuition a little bit. It's a slight increment, but it's going to help us out and help put us in a good position. As far as what we offer all sorts of things. Primarily, as you mentioned, it's an agricultural, horticultural school, but there are students there that take other things and then go on, perhaps if they wish, to a 4-year college. Some go on for 2-year schools. Some go right into the trades and go on to become plumbers and iron workers and things like that. All things we need, all things we need. But I think the thrust of it is, in talking to the students, significant amount of them are interested in veterinary medicine or vet services or even nursing and things of that nature. It's a great campus. We have over 600 acres of land, a wonderful place for your child to go, a place to go walking, an awful lot happening there. I would recommend anyone who's never been there, check out the hayride during the fall season. It's a wonderful, they have a haunted Halloween hayride that I took a couple of my little grandchildren to, and we had a great time. It's a wonderful event, and it's a great community time as well. So it's a great school, very impressed. As a former teacher, I will say that the level of education, you get your bang for your buck. What's really great about it, Tom, is that it's hands-on. I've always felt, I taught science, so that was a very good thing to do, because in science, you can teach the principle of anatomy, and then the student looked at the thing and could work on it with their hands or with the microscope. Well, same thing with the Aggie School. There's a lot of hands-on training, and the students can see that, in practice. So it does a great job. All of them do a great job.
You mentioned about 300 students are in county, and it's tuition something like $2,500. What about the out of county? How does that work for students from out of county? Where are they coming from, and what does that look like?
Good question. Naturally, believe it or not, our number one out of county student comes from Boston. Then it's kind of broken down. I don't have the exact breakout. I could get it for you, but it's Boston's like number one. And in county, it's amazing. We have a high amount for Braintree, Randolph, Holbrook, places like that. And then you get like Canton has 5 or 6, and Stoughton has 3 or 4. I think Brookline has 1 there now. There's only 1, but there is 1 student that does attend there. Roughly I can get the number for you too. I have that broken down. The tuition now, what's going to be the total tuition is going to be about $3,200 I'm sorry, take that back. About $4,200 for an in-student to attend, because what we come up with a formula based on a tuition change and a capital cost. We looked at the capital program in terms of buildings, and we assessed a small amount as well. Out of county though, are you ready? Out of county tuition is $24,000 as opposed to $2,400. And there's a sped cost as well, which brings it up to about $32,000 if you factor in the capital. So it's about an 8 times more cost factor. If you're out of county, you pay 8 times more. But again, our applications are high and people are interested in going there.
That's fascinating. And frankly, it doesn't surprise me. Running any high school is expensive on a per student basis. And then you add in all of the additional capital needs and operating needs associated with it being a Voc school.
Right.
Of course, none of that stuff is free. I want to quickly pivot. I know there's certainly some local controversy in Walpole about it. There's been a proposal to build a solar panel PV array, ground mounted array on land owned by the campus. And there's some controversy around it because it involves cutting down trees to put the solar in there. Can you walk us through that a little bit? Well, we don't, the viewers certainly aren't a charged political view on this issue. But I think it's happening in our county, and it's fair for folks to kind of have some sense for what the pros and cons are, what the sides are talking about.
Yep. Let me interject, and I'll definitely address that. I'm not going to dodge that question at all. I do want to say something in that, in terms of where I am and where we're going. When I ran, Tommy, and I think I barely met you until after I had won the primary, I believe. But and it's a pleasure knowing you and working with you. My campaign had been time for change. We're going to bring about change. And in the short time I've been on, working with my other commissioners, of course, we have a whole brand new team at the Aggie School. We have hired a new superintendent, a new business manager, and a new principal. And so they are reflecting that attitude of change and making that Aggie School even better than what it was. So to that end, let me just go back to the solar question. The solar field was actually voted before I became a commissioner. It was actually the agreement that the prior commissioners, including the late and great Francis O'Brien, they basically had an agreement in place with a company called Kearsarge. And Kearsarge signed up to build 2 fields. One is called the Hilltop Field, which I believe borders on North Street, and the other one was going to be someplace behind the school. Well, both of them got off to a bad start. Let's talk about the one behind the school. When they unveiled their plan, and this is when I got on board, it showed that they were going to interfere with trails that the students use for running and for nature walks and things like that. So it was a terrible choice. And again, they showed a little lack of not discussing things as properly as they should have. So they quickly retreated from that, put that on the back burner, and went forward on the hillside. On the hillside, they came up with a plan for 7 acres. And it did show a substantial amount of trees to be eliminated as well. The neighbors in that direct proximity were very upset about that, and it became quite an issue. My position has always been pro-solar. I'm a big believer in it. As a zoning attorney, I've done permitting on some of the largest solar fields east of the Mississippi, but mostly they've been on landfills. And that's a different kind of an approach when you're at a landfill that's capped properly and you can put it where more or less very little people are upset about. This is a different kind of situation where you're reducing trees and putting it, in a place of where people are going to feel like it's going to be obtrusive. So I had said, could we maybe reduce it right off the bat? Can we reduce the size? And I was told very cordially, no, it is what it is. So I voted against it. I voted against that first proposal. Nonetheless, it went forward, and that's the way it goes. You know yourself as an elected official, you win some, lose some. We do have panels on the roof. We have panels at the carport, which are generating energy, and they're doing a great job. They're producing energy for our school, and they're saving us on the utilities. But the solar field itself right now is locked in controversy because we filed with the town of Walpole. Town of Walpole denied the appeal, and now we've appealed that denial, and it's tied up in court. What I'm concerned about, frankly, is the amount of legal costs that is going on in terms of that lawsuit. I don't know when it'll be resolved. We have a fine attorney. Scott Lopez is working on behalf of the commissioners. And hopefully, we're going to get some kind of resolution one way or the other on that issue. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, if you will, the other project has been moved several times. And Kearsarge unveiled at a public hearing the other night their plans for, if you say, well, say phase 2. It's in a different location. It's not near the trails. It will reduce the number of trees that will be eliminated. And to me, I'm kind of excited about this one because of its location. Still, at the public hearing, we had some pushback from residents. And it should be noted, there were people there from the Alumni Association of the Aggies saying that nothing should be done there. There were neighbors in the distance area who said they were opposed to it. And yet we had also people speak in favor. So it was kind of a mixed bag. We had some people stepping up in favor, others, were against it. And I guess it's a public hearing, you just take the testimony and then you have to sort through it. So that one's kind of working its way through. Again, what I had suggested yesterday at the county commissioner meeting is that we should take a pause here, not reset it, but let's have a site walk. Maybe meet with the neighbors and listen to what their concerns might be. Maybe there's a way that Kearsarge can even not eliminate as many trees. All right, if we put it in even a different spot. And on top of that, what I'd like to see happen, truthfully, is that all the county properties should be looked at, all of them. We might be able to put some of these panels in different places, maybe on some of the roofs, maybe in some of the parking lots, other areas as well that we own county property in. And that way, perhaps there might be a way to satisfy Kearsarge's need and fulfill our contract with them. Again, it was executed before I was on board, and also, help out the neighbors as well. So ongoing situation, that's the straight skinny, and that's where we're at on that. We'll see.
Super helpful, right? I mean, we all use that power. It's got to come from somewhere.
Right.
And, at some point, we've got to make decisions. We've got to make trade-offs.
Right. Now more than ever, you can see it with the gas prices going higher. We definitely, we obviously have a need to reduce the carbon footprint. Clear message there. So we got to do something, but it's going to be tricky. We'll get there though.
Now, making decisions like that are tricky in a very different way. Spending ARPA money is tricky because there's so many needs and only, you get the dollars you get. So tell us a little bit about the county ARPA money and the county ARPA process and what's been spent, where you think it might go. Give us a feel for some of that.
Yeah, so great question. So as I said earlier, the county is really in the forefront now with this ARPA program. And it gets a little tricky too, because when I talk to different people, they go, well, they get mixed up. There's a state ARPA and a county ARPA, and everybody's using the word ARPA. So on the county side, Norfolk County is slated to receive over $135 million from the federal government. That's a substantial amount of money. And our goal and our decision was to keep that money and administer it in the best way possible. And of course, give it back to the cities and towns. So Norfolk County itself, for the administration of it, is going to keep a very small amount, very small amount. In fact, we consulted with Plymouth County, who did it with the CARES Act money. You may recall they took the money and kept it themselves. And they said, look, it can be done. It can be done. And we feel if we do it our way, we can save a little money for everybody. So right now, to date, we've given out over $13 million. Over 20 grants have been given out to cities and towns. Brookline has not applied yet. There are several towns that have not applied. My own town hasn't applied. So there are a lot of towns that are waiting. Some of them are waiting for town meeting to be wrapped up. Others are waiting to see what their final tally will be in terms of state aid and federal aid. But it's out there. Brookline's share, I think, is somewhere in excess of 11 million from the county ARPA. They would get over 11 million. The key thing to remember is that the town has to apply no later than 2024. And the program on our end ends by 2026. To protect ourselves and our taxpayers, though, I think I'm very proud of what we've done collectively. We have not one, but two CPA firms that are handling the portal. They both take the applications. One looks at it, works with the city finance director or administrator, make sure they're doing okay and make sure it's done the proper way. And then when it's approved, it goes to the second CPA firm that vets it as well. On top of that, we have a law firm in case there's any legal questions, which there are. Mintz and Levin is our law firm to review things. Let me add really quick here. The categories that you can apply for and where most of the money seems to be going at the moment, Tom, is in water and sewer. Tremendous amount of the towns are concerned about water quality, water treatment, and water infrastructure. So that seems to be the number one area at the moment. The second one is an area of revenue replacement. And that's kind of an issue I'll get to in 1 second. Broadband, economic development, public health, and premium pay for essential workers round out the categories you can apply for. I'll give you a quick story too that helps you. Milton, for example, was just awarded over $200,000 to hire a full-time community nurse to help out the schools, the school nurse. She was overwhelmed with the number of COVID. And so just from COVID tracing and helping out the student and teacher population, Milton decided to apply for a grant, and they got $200,000 for a nurse that can work with the school the balance of this year and through next year. All right. Compare that to Dedham. They applied and got a small grant, $25,000 for contract tracing materials and extra COVID kits. All right. And then you have towns like Rentham that had a question about a celebration. They have a celebration for their 350th anniversary coming up next year. So they applied for economic development to spruce up the green and make the area ready. So it's pretty diverse. It's fascinating as a commissioner because you get to see all these different towns that make up our county and all their different interests. But in the big bugaboo, I would say, has been revenue replacement. Brookline, because of its size, Quincy, of course, and I believe Weymouth were exempt from a ruling that came down from the US Treasury. And the Treasury basically limited the smaller towns. Brookline is not involved with this, but the smaller towns, they could not exceed more than 10% of their revenue for revenue replacement. So if it had applied to Brookline, they could only put, say, 1 million to revenue replacement. They're not capped by that. They could put all of it into revenue replacement. So we're working with our delegation, and this is where it gets interesting. We're working with Senator Markey. He's been terrific, and our congressman and other legislators to try to see if we can get a waiver put on that. The way the bill was written, I mean, Norfolk County is not like a county in Nevada or New Mexico, or in Wyoming. Counties are different out there, and they wrote it with an intent towards the whole nation. And it backfired a little bit on Norfolk County because you had towns like Braintree that want to use more than the $750,000. They're going to get 7 million. And we had to say no, and they weren't too happy with that. But we're working with them, and we're finding, like anything else, it's a brand new program. So we're working through it. And I think, and again, things will be okay. But Brookline, you got 11 million waiting for you. So come and get it.
Well, and Brookline has a series of budgetary pressures right now. We've got, of course, with inflation, we've got a real pressing need to make sure that our town employees, both on the school side and the town side, are being paid fairly for the work that they're contributing toward the town's health and well-being. And that's a challenge. And of course, Prop 2.5 really restrains the town's ability to generate tax revenue through property taxes absent an operating override. And so there's real pressure on the budget right now. So Brookline's a wealthy town, but the town of Brookline doesn't have the authority to just pull money out of people's pockets who live in Brookline quite so easily. And so there's no doubt that, frankly, this fiscal year's budget that the town meeting will vote on in May is okay, but next year and the year after are facing some real pressures. And I have no doubt that the town will put that $11 million to use. We've only got a minute. So I just
agree
want
with
to
that.
just give people a flavor of what's going on at the registry, 30 seconds or less.
Okay, that's tough to do, but I'll do the best I can. But yeah, I think the towns that have not applied are waiting. They're in better position, and because remember, you've got a couple of years to spend that money. So I'm sure Brookline and other towns will be filing very soon. Registry of Deeds, Tom, anytime you want to bring about change, it's never easy. Change is never easy. And again, with some pride, working with my other commissioners, we commissioned a study to institute what's called best practices, something that had never happened in the county, never. So we had a consultant come in and examine every facet of county government, top to bottom. And one of the areas they zeroed in on was the technology department. Let's face it, the Aggie School has a tech department. We have a tech department, and the registry have a tech department. So as quick as I can make it, the report came back and said consolidation is better. Mr. O'Donnell, who I have great respect for, and the registrar, he's a longtime servant of the town, of the county, fought us on that, basically didn't agree with that. So I said, let's get another study done. I did. I said, let's get a tech expert, an expert to come in and look at just technology. That report came back. It was the Ripples report. The Ripples report said yep, you really should consolidate. Maybe go slower, but you should consolidate. And so the vote was by the commissioners to consolidate the IT department. The advisory board endorsed our position by overwhelming support at the advisory board budget meeting, which was just last week. Change is coming. There's going to be a technology department. This doesn't mean that the registry will not be protected. And I think that some of the information went out there was kind of tainted a little bit. People were thinking that there'll be no one protecting documents and things of that nature. It just means that person may not physically be in the building all the time, but he will be overseeing those things and responsible for everybody in the county. So it's going to take a while. Change isn't easy, but that's the best I can do in like under 3 minutes.
Hey, we do the best we can. Obviously, there's more going on at the county government than perhaps folks in the cities and towns realize. Richard, I'm grateful for you for doing the work to protect all the cities and towns in the county, really trying to make sure that we're all getting good value for the dues, the fees we pay to be members. Folks, Richard Staiti, County Commissioner, you heard him here. TV on TV, only on Brookline Interactive Group. Richard, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me, Tom. Good luck to you too. Look forward to working with you.
We'll talk soon.
All right, take care.